Welcome to the John Clarence Gomez Show. Here's your host, JC Gomez.
Welcome to the John Clarence Gomez Show, Christopher. My guest today is Christopher Gattelli. Uh, he is a choreographer and performer on Broadway. And here is the first question. Who is Christopher Gattelli? Can you tell our listeners about yourself?
Oh gosh, I'll try to be brief. First of all, thank you for having me.
Thank
It's a
you.
pleasure to talk to you. I'm from Bristol, Pennsylvania, which is a small city outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I started dancing when I was 7 years old at a studio near my hometown, and fell in love with it immediately, and pursued theater and started singing, and kind of fell in love with it, and moved to New York to take dance classes there when I was around 15, 16, at a few different schools. I studied all forms of dance: tap, jazz, ballet, modern, everything I could kind of get my hands on in terms of like learning things. And then I pursued a career in theater, and I got my start on stage around 17 at the Radio City Music Hall, working on their Christmas show, which was really exciting. And then it kind of snowballed. I met the creative people from the creative team on the show, worked on different shows, and brought me along to some really wonderful projects. And throughout the different shows I worked on, I made my Broadway debut in How to Succeed Without Really Trying with Matthew Broderick and Sarah Jessica Parker, which was an honor and so much fun. And I kept performing for a bit. I did Guys and Dolls, How to Succeed, Cats, Fosse for a bit. Then I started choreographing, and so I started that second part of my career, and that's been going really well. Done a bunch of TV and film and Broadway, and now have been, but now also transitioning to directing, which has been really fun. So um, it's nice to kind of be able to do a little bit of what I love in a lot of different fields, and it keeps it fresh. It keeps it fun for me, and the main thing is I love collaborating. I love working with other people, whether it's on the my side of the table in terms of directors, choreographers, artists, lighting designers, book writers, composers, and I also love working with the actors a lot. It's kind of it's a really special job that I'm really grateful to do.
Who inspired you to become a choreographer and a Broadway performer? Who inspires you?
Um, I wouldn't say there's one, in terms of being a performer, I wouldn't say there was one person specifically. I think I just growing up watching movies of, like, Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, the male role models, because of being a male, I kind of tended towards them, but, like, Ann Miller and Sid Charisse, and from the classic movies. But then, the more I saw live performers, everyone really inspires me, because everyone brings something different, and everyone brings themselves to what they do. So I wouldn't say there's just one person. So many people inspire me. And then in terms of a choreographer, there was a specific choreographer I worked with, Chris Chapman, who I worked on Guys and Dolls with, who, to me, before I met Chris, dancing had been just fun, and I loved to do it, and I loved to feel music and dance and move. But Chris kind of taught me the art of storytelling through dance specifically, and that really excited me, and uh, it just changed my whole perspective of what dance was, and how it can be used. And then that's what really inspired me to be a choreographer and be able to tell story through dance. So I'd have to say him primarily.
what is the experience being a choreographer or a performer in Broadway? Because many people thinks that being a performer in Broadway is just easy, or you need to work hard.
Oh, for sure. You have to work hard. I mean, it's a beautiful kind of dual-edged sword in that, like, it's, the great part is you get to do what you love. You get to, you're employed, of course. It's nice to have work, but for Broadway, for example, you're at kind of the highest peak of what a lot of performers aspire to. And you get to perform in front of a live audience and work with amazing people. Like, there are so many beautiful things about getting to do it. The hard part about being a Broadway performer is the work. For example, like, I did Cats for a total of 5 years, and it's very hard on your body to do it live and to be consistent and maintain that kind of performance. And especially being a dancer, it's very physical and very taxing. You really have to take care of your instrument, because your body is basically your instrument, and you have to take care of it, and hopefully not get injured. And I've had plenty of injuries and things like that just happen because it's natural. And also, the timing. That Broadway is tough because it's 8 shows a week. You have one day off, so it's very you have to be willing to, like, not see family a lot, miss holidays, you miss certain events that other people might not miss. Like, for example, holidays. People, they love to, a gift. People give gifts to, like, oh, I'm going to go see this Broadway show for Christmas. Like, that's my Christmas gift. But for the performers, they have to work on Christmas, so they don't really get a proper Christmas or Hanukkah or New Year, or any holiday that's important to that particular person. So it's tricky. That part's tricky, and you have to really be able to embrace that part of it. But I think the good definitely outweighs the not so good. So it's again, it's to be a performer is on Broadway is definitely a highlight of a life, for sure.
You are the choreographer of the Broadway musical Newsies, and you won a Tony Award. What is your feeling when you won a Tony Award?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's something I never would have ever expected. I mean, you dream of things like that, I think. And I think the two main things I take away from it were, one, to be recognized by your peers who, I grew up, watching and admiring and respecting and loving what, the people who put on shows, and just, like, it was so inspiring to watch them, and to want to be where they were, and help guide me and inspire me, and to work alongside those people now, and to have them, nominate and award you a Tony Award is it just felt good to kind of be, one, acknowledged, but two, feel like I was giving back. Like, all of you inspired me to create this work that garnered me this honor, but it just felt like giving back to a community that I just love. And the other part was, I felt like it wasn't just an award for me. It was an award for the whole show and team, because we all worked so hard on it. And especially with Newsies, with all the dancers in it, especially, it was a very collaborative show. And, the boys and women that were in it, we all worked together to figure out the dancing, and we figured out the numbers, and I pulled on a lot of their personal strengths. So it felt like I was so proud, because it felt like not just a win for me, but a win for all of us. And I really feel like they felt the same, because we all worked really, really hard to make a good show.
You also a choreographer in Martin Short, Fames Becomes You, and also a resident choreographer for the Rosie O'Donnell show. What is the experience working with these two celebrities, Martin Short and Rosie O'Donnell?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it's funny you mentioned those two. I mean, they're so funny. I mean, just nonstop. I mean, to work with actors slash, they're also incredible comedians. Their humor is just nonstop. I mean, they would just have you laughing all the time, and their creativity and they're just always wanting to be better, something better or funnier, or trying to top themselves. They were just relentless and I say that in the best way. Like uh that's why they are who they are, because they never settle, and they always want to make something special and funnier, or something that's no one has seen, or tell a joke no one's heard. And so it was such a unique experience with both of them, because they were both heroes of mine forever. Growing up with them, I remember watching Rosie on Star Search and Martin Short, doing Ed Gremley on, and then I'm like sitting and working with these people, and it was definitely a pinch me moment of specifically with the two of them, because I loved them since I was a kid. And it was what people say sometimes, be careful when you meet your heroes, but specifically with those two, it was quite a dream come true. They're amazing people.
On April 8, you have a masterclass session in the Hub Studios in London. Can you encourage our listeners from UK to go there?
Excuse me, what do you mean?
Masterclass session in Hub Studios London. I see that on your Instagram. There is a link.
Oh yeah, I did a master class in London. I was there a year and a half ago, working on a
Uh-huh.
film, and it was wonderful, because I I've been to London a bunch to work, but I didn't really know the dance community. And during this specific movie, I got to hire a lot of dancers from London, and got to know the dance community there. And so I set up a master class primarily just to, not just get to work with the dancers in the movie, but just to have anyone who wanted to come, just be able to take class and get to know just more people and more of the community in London, because there's so many talented people over there. And being that I work there a bunch, I wanted to get to know them, really.
Here is the what is your favorite segment? What is your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, how long do you have now? I think my favorite food is my family's, like, spaghetti and meatballs, for sure. I mean, that can never go wrong, and I could eat it every day if I could.
Favorite Broadway musical you perform, or musical that you did not perform. Favorite
Oh my,
Broadway musical.
that is always the toughest question. Oh gosh, I mean, I'd have to say Dreamgirls, for a few reasons. One, because it was the first Broadway show I ever saw live, and it was such a special experience to like see a show on Broadway and have it be that. But also, I mean, Michael Bennett directing it. It's such a he directed it and choreographed it so brilliantly, and it's just so smart and good and exciting. And also, the book and the music, and luckily, like, I mean, it was another pinch me moment, but I got to work with Henry Krieger years later, who wrote the score. And I was like, I can't believe I'm working with this man who wrote Dreamgirls. I mean, so I'd have to say it's that. But obviously the list is endless. I love so many.
Favorite movies, Hollywood movies.
That's another good question. Um, I mean, I mean, I'm definitely a Star Wars fan. So I'm a So I love the original. I mean, I could watch it anytime, any day. I love the original Willy Wonka. I can watch that anytime, any day. Mary Poppins, anytime, any day. Like just those comfort. Like I find them. There's a comfort and awe to I think watching them when I was young and having them still be something special now as an adult. And it's something that if I'm traveling somewhere on a plane or if I'm in a city that's new and I don't know it, so I'm kind of in my room, I will always put on one of those just because I know I'll love it and I'll always love them and it kind of immediately makes me feel good.
Favorite non-Broadway song, a song that not in Broadway. For example, like a pop song, like Katy Perry, for example. Favorite non-Broadway song.
Oh wow, you're asking. These are so good. That's a really tough one too. Um, hmm, wow. Again, I mean, I have so many genres I love. I'm trying to think of like what I would just put on. Um, I love X's and O's. It's just like a good song. I love anything from Fleetwood Mac. I love uh I mean my iTunes is all over the place. ABBA, I love. I have I mean anything kind of really from the 70s. I'm a big 70s fan. But just the whole like the Eagle I love the Eagles. I love uh it's gosh, that's why it's so hard to pick just one. But definitely like the 70s kind of cover a lot of bases in terms of styles and genres that I really enjoy.
Do you have an upcoming shows that you can promote to our listeners? Upcoming shows.
Oh, sure. Right now I'm working on well this year I'll Schmigadoon 2, it's on Apple Plus, is coming out in April. I think they just announced it, which is a series with Cecily Strong and Michael Keegan Key, which I did season one that had come out, which is really funny and fun. It's a if your listeners don't know it, it's two people that get trapped in a musical. They get lost in the woods, and they on the other side they come through. The town is singing and dancing, and their life turns into a musical, and it's really funny. One of them loves musicals, one of them doesn't, so it's pretty it's pretty funny. So we're doing season two this year, which is great, and then towards the end of the year, I'm doing the movie I was working on in London. I'm working on the prequel to Willy Wonka. Surprisingly enough, the movie I love. They're doing a prequel called Wonka with Timothy Chalamet and Olivia Colman and just all around an amazing cast. And that's coming out in December, I think, 16th or 19th or something like that. So yeah, I have productions of The King and I in London happening if you're in London, and My Fair Lady in London, and I have My Fair Lady kind of touring across America now, and I'm doing a bunch of new musicals at the moment, which is exciting. So the next crop of musicals, given the pause with the pandemic, is about to come out soon, which I will let you know, and we can let your listeners know what all the next fun stuff will be.
Here is the last questions before we end because we have no time now. Can you give a little advice to our listeners who wants to become a theater performer or choreographer like you? Can you give a little advice and
Oh, for sure.
inspiration?
For sure. I mean, hopefully this applies to anything, but I think, specifically as a director or choreographer, I mean, a performer or choreographer, I'd say one, mainly for a performer, I think just, I, I always say this to my classes is just be prepared. Like if you're going to audition, if you're going to, you know, put yourself out there, like, take dance classes and train and take singing and acting. And even if you don't think you do any of them well, just as long as you kind of commit to it and just work your hardest at it, you know, someone will always be more natural at something. So, you know, like, and someone may lean towards one of them being easier for them. But, you know, I always say, like, what I didn't know as a performer that I now know as a director choreographer behind the table is, you know, just always go in and do your best and be prepared, because that way, you know, you go in, you do what you do it your best, and then you leave the room, and then you can leave it in the room, because when you walk out, you know, there's so many factors to, you know, you getting that specific job that have nothing to do with you. And I think that goes for a lot of life too. You know, it's like, I've been behind the table where someone would have done the most perfect audition. They danced it, they came in and sang incredibly, they read scenes from the show, were incredible, and yet that particular person, for what we were looking for, may have that character may have already been cast from a previous production, or may the person opposite them in the show was like not compatible, whether height or whatever, who knows. I mean, there are so many reasons why people don't get things that they don't know. And I see coming up, I've seen a lot of people get discouraged and like leave the business or not try, or and I always felt bad, because when I saw all of this happening, I was like, wow, if only I knew back then, I wouldn't have been so hard on myself as a performer. I wouldn't have, you know, got upset at myself for like, oh, I should have sang that song, or oh, I should have, you know, it's there's so many things that are out of your control, that as long as you go in and do your best, your personal best, and feel like, you know, you prepared and did everything you could, then you move on to the next thing. And, you know, and if you get it, great. And if not, there's probably a reason, and it's usually better why you didn't get something. And then as a choreographer, if someone's pursuing choreography or direction, or, you know, I feel like there's so, especially now with, you know, dancing is so popular with TikTok and the shows on TV, and that I feel like just take every opportunity you can get. I started out doing a lot of benefits, for example. Like I staged a lot of numbers for benefits, and I did a lot of work for free, and I did a bunch of stuff that, you know, I learned a lot, because every experience you're going to learn something. You're going to learn how to work with people, how to talk to people, how to, you know, time management, how to, you know, work rehearsals around people's conflicts, or like there's so many things that you don't think go into what you're about to do, and it's like on the job learning, because there's not a science or a formula to what we do. So it's like, and I always feel like take any opportunity and do anything you can, because somehow you're gonna learn something from it that you're gonna take with you. And it's funny, you know, because I did a lot of benefits, and then the benefit that got me to work with Rosie O'Donnell, well, I mean, how I got to work with Rosie was because of a benefit. I did a benefit that she happened to be at, and she liked the number that we did, and she asked if that little portion could be on her show, and then cut to, it's like, oh, you know, you work with cameras, you're funny. The spot opened up, and she gave me the job, and it was, you know, it's like you never know in this business. So it's just kind of take any opportunity, even if you think it might not be worth it, because you never know, you know, who you're going to be working with that may end up hiring you for something else, or, you know. And it's the same, I think, and then across the board, performers and choreographer directors is, you know, and always treat people with respect, because, you know, that person that you're in the audition with as a performer might be me, who end up is a choreographer, and then might hire you as a dancer. So I always say, like, treat everyone with kindness and respect, and root for everyone, because there's enough to go around. And eventually, you know, everyone hopefully will get to do what they love to do in some form.
Thank you. Thank you, Christopher, for guesting to my podcast. And we have no time now, and it is time to say goodbye. Bye. Thank you for guesting to my podcast. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the John Clarence Schoolmill Show. We hope you enjoyed it.